In the silent void where stars themselves dared not tremble, 7 peak cultivators rose as one to challenge a beast that even the heavens remembered with fear. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. The moment the Yao family and the other cultivation clans began their hunt for Wang Lin, a single thought had already taken root in his mind: he would borrow the power of the Moongazer Serpent. The creature's terrifying might had long since carved itself into his memory. If the Moongazer Serpent were to awaken in fury, what could the Yao family or any cultivation clan possibly amount to? Wang Lin moved with extreme speed, no longer caring whether his actions would rouse the beast. Without hesitation, he charged straight toward the bone. It did not take long before he reached the depths, where he saw the half of the bone that had returned. Originally, he had intended to take it all, but circumstances had forced him to abandon half. A glint flashed through his eyes as he murmured back then. Greed's treasured furnace was devoured by this Moongazer Serpent. The mere thought of that furnace made his heart pound. After careful consideration, he was nearly certain 8 out of 10 that it was a treasure once refined by ancient God to see, then casually discarded in dissatisfaction. Under normal circumstances, Wang Lin would never dare entertain such thoughts. The Moongazer Serpent was simply too terrifying. If it awakened, catastrophe would follow. But now, countless cultivators surrounded the outside world, perfect vessels to absorb the creature's wrath. Clenching his teeth, Wang Lin made his decision. His figure flickered as he continued deeper into the serpent's body, his divine sense spreading cautiously around him. He knew well that this place was far from safe. Smaller Moongazer serpents lurked within, deadly and unpredictable. The last time he had tried to pry the bone loose, one had nearly cost him his life. At that moment, countless cultivators encircled the planet. Each of them had come to understand just how ruthless Shumu was. That understanding had been etched into their very bones throughout the pursuit. A single moment of carelessness would mean death. So when they saw Wang Lin enter the planet, suspicion immediately arose. Combined with the accounts from the Northern Domain cultivators, everyone now knew this planet was in truth a mysterious beast. A middle-aged man from the Yao family let out a cold sneer, his gaze filled with disdain as he looked at the Moongazer Serpent. Even if it is a beast, so what? He scoffed. It has no offensive ability, and even if it did, if we attack together, we can still kill it. The Yao family's records contained countless fierce beasts, some far more terrifying than this one. Yet in the end, all had perished beneath the combined might of celestial cultivators. Moreover, there was no mention of this creature in those records, which meant only one thing: this beast was not a true threat. Otherwise, it would have been recorded long ago. It won't be difficult to kill this thing, Yao Yunhai said, withdrawing his gaze. As a third-generation member of the Yao family, his cultivation had only reached peak corporeal yang, but his pride towered far higher. In his eyes, the Moongazer Serpent was unworthy of fear. Nearby, Yao Bingyun stared at the black fog formed by the serpent. A strange light flickered in her eyes before she suddenly stepped forward, charging directly into it. Her movement became the signal. One after another, the powerful cultivators followed her into the black fog. Yao Yunhai was among them. Standing atop his flying sword, he plunged into the darkness. More and more cultivators surged forward. Apart from a small few, their eyes gleamed with excitement. They spread their divine senses through the fog, and upon sensing no immediate danger, they pressed onward. Breaking through the black fog, what greeted them was a horrifying sight. Countless tentacles swaying and writhing in all directions. The scene startled many of those who entered. Yet the shock was brief. Soon they scattered, searching for any trace of Wang Lin. Some even ventured deeper into the planet itself. Yao Bingyun stepped forward and sank directly into the ground. But the moment she did, an ominous feeling rose within her heart. Everything felt wrong, and the deeper she descended, the stronger that feeling became. "What kind of creature is this?" she whispered. She was not alone. Yao Yunhai had also descended underground, charging recklessly downward without a hint of caution. Several cultivators followed closely behind him. Not all cultivators had entered. A large number still remained outside surrounding the planet, their eyes burning with anticipation. Among them were members of the Yao family watching intently. As more cultivators entered, faint ripples began to spread across the surface of the planet. They were incredibly subtle, so faint that one might miss them entirely without careful observation. Even those inside could barely sense it, only a slight sudden increase in pressure. But to Wang Lin, who was moving within the serpent's body, it was unmistakable. He came to an abrupt halt. A grim smile crept across his face. "It's beginning to awaken," he muttered. "This Moongazer serpent hasn't been asleep for long. With just a little more stimulation, it will rise." His eyes turned cold. "Let me help you wake up faster." Without hesitation, he charged toward the upper section of the serpent's bone, a dangerously sensitive area. Back then, he had done everything in his power to prevent its awakening. But now, everything had changed. As he moved, his expression suddenly shifted. He looked upward. Killing intent surged within his eyes. Then he shot straight up. Yao Bingyun continued downward, his divine sense sweeping wildly through the area, his expression filled with arrogance. But suddenly, a chilling aura erupted. His face changed instantly. He stopped. The cultivators behind him quickly caught up. Then, a crack tore open behind them. From within it, a frigid presence surged outward. A 1,000-foot-long Moongazer serpent burst forth like a bolt of lightning, its countless tentacles writhing in a horrifying dance. It was far too fast. Before anyone could react, it devoured one cultivator whole. Its massive body then slammed into another, sending him coughing, blood terror filling his eyes. Without hesitation, he abandoned his body, his origin soul fleeing into the earth. Everything happened in a single breath. Yao Bingyun's pupils shrank violently. Every hair on his body stood on end. He retreated without hesitation, forming seals with both hands as he prepared to cast a spell. But at that exact moment, while all his attention was fixed on the serpent before him, Wang Lin emerged silently from the earth behind him. His fingers pressed directly onto Yao Bingyun's back. By the time Yao Bingyun realized, it was already too late. Without hesitation, he abandoned his body, attempting to escape with his origin soul. But Wang Lin had anticipated this. His right hand surged with origin energy as he reached forward. Just as Yao Bingyun tried to resist, the karma whip lashed out. A miserable scream tore from his throat. Wang Lin did not pause for even an instant. He kicked Yao Bingyun's body, sending a violent surge of origin energy crashing into it. The body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. A shockwave of origin energy rippled outward, forcing even the Moongazer serpent to recoil slightly. Borrowing that very force, Wang Lin vanished without a trace. After seizing Yao Bingyun's origin soul, Wang Lin did not hesitate for even a breath. He swiftly sealed it within the soul flag tucked in his bag, then vanished in a flicker of motion, leaving nothing behind but a fading trace. Behind him, the 1,000-foot-long Moongazer serpent surged forth, its immense body tearing through the earth as a chilling aura flooded the surroundings. It searched briefly, its massive head swaying, before opening its maw and inhaling the lingering traces of Wang Lin's aura. The countless tendrils along its body curled inward, coiling around itself, as though savoring a long-awaited delicacy. Yet only a moment later, it shut its jaws, its colossal form twisting once, before sinking silently back into the earth. Far in the distance, a strange glint flickered in Wang Lin's eyes as he pressed onward toward the tip of the serpent's bone. Every step he took was measured, every movement restrained. At the slightest hint of danger, he would shift direction without hesitation, concealing himself like a shadow slipping between cracks of light. He pondered inwardly. Though the inside of the Moongazer serpent is fraught with danger, with my understanding and enough caution, it should remain manageable. Compared to the outside world, this place is far safer. A cold smile curved across his lips. If that is the case, why not remain hidden within it? Should the Yao family seek my life, they will first have to contend with the serpent itself. With that thought, he surged forward once more. The Moongazer serpent was vast beyond measure. Teleportation was impossible within its body, and coupled with the need for constant vigilance, even Wang Lin's swift pace felt sluggish. Suddenly his expression shifted. Without hesitation, he veered sharply aside. At that very instant, a shard of blue ice shot past where he had stood, streaking through the air like lightning. It brushed dangerously close, so close that Wang Lin could feel the bone-piercing chill within it. That cold seeped into him, threading through his flesh and stiffening his limbs. "You cannot escape." A cold voice echoed slowly through the air. The earth split open with a rumbling roar, forming a 100-foot-wide fissure. From within it, Yao Bingyun stepped forth, her figure emerging like frost-given form. Her eyes burned with killing intent as she fixed her gaze upon Wang Lin. "You slaughtered countless innocent cultivators across the western domain. Today, Yao Bingyun will take your life." Wang Lin retreated swiftly, gathering origin energy into his hands. He struck his own body several times, forcefully expelling the invading cold. At the same time, he spat out a mouthful of essence origin energy, which transformed mid-air into a sharp sword that shot straight toward her. Yao Bingyun's expression remained indifferent. Her right hand formed a seal, and with a single motion she pointed forward. A thread of blue light gathered at her fingertip. Then, in an instant, everything before her froze. Ice spread outward in a relentless tide. Even Wang Lin's sword of essence origin energy was mercilessly encased in ice after traveling only a few dozen feet. Seeing the advancing frost, Wang Lin's face darkened. He did not hesitate, he retreated. He understood clearly she was far too powerful. There was no chance of victory. A flicker of killing intent crossed Yao Bingyun's eyes as her hand brushed lightly against the frozen surface before her. In the next instant, her figure vanished completely. Ice escape. Wang Lin's pupils contracted. A surge of danger erupted within him. Without hesitation, he opened his mouth and spat out the celestial sealing stamp, placing it before him as a shield. The moment it appeared, Yao Bingyun emerged from the ice directly before him. Her finger descended. That single point contained the full force of her cultivation. As it struck, a blood-red rune blossomed from her fingertip, spreading across the celestial sealing stamp. 10-cycle soul damage seal. Her hands moved rapidly, forming seals in quick succession. 9 additional blood-red runes appeared, each one imprinting itself upon the stamp. These runes were profoundly strange. They ignored the existence of the celestial sealing stamp, entirely passing through it as if it were nothing. Surging directly toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression grew grim. Seal. With a single word, hundreds of thousands of golden runes erupted into existence, forming layers upon layers of sealing formations. Among them 2 shone with particularly terrifying power. The golden tide surged forward, weakening the incoming attack. Yet the 10-cycle soul damage seal was too overwhelming. It tore through the defenses almost instantly. Though reduced from 10 cycles to 4, it still struck Wang Lin's chest like lightning. It pierced through him, then split into 4 streaks of crimson light rushing toward his origin soul. A series of dull popping sounds echoed within his body. Wang Lin's face turned pale, yet his eyes burned with monstrous killing intent. Clutching the celestial sealing stamp, he retreated rapidly, vanishing into the distance in the blink of an eye. Still not dead. Yao Bingyun's phoenix eyes gleamed coldly. Shumu, this man was far too strange. If his previous survival could be attributed to luck, then perhaps it was acceptable. But now, even after she had unleashed her full strength, she had failed to kill a mere corporeal yang cultivator. Her gaze narrowed. He must possess a celestial treasure capable of protecting his origin soul. With a cold sneer, she stepped forward. Ice spread endlessly behind her, chasing after Wang Lin like a relentless tide. Wang Lin's origin soul trembled, yet his killing intent only deepened. As he glanced back at Yao Bingyun, he raised his right hand and struck downward. Heavenly chop appeared, but its target was not her. Instead, it fell upon the surrounding layers of earth. With a thunderous crash, the ground collapsed. The Moongazer Serpent prefers silence and loathes disturbance. Knowing this, Wang Lin continued to bombard the earth, unleashing strike after strike. Yao Bingyun's lips curved slightly in ridicule. If this were outside, she might struggle to catch him. His mastery of spatial bend was something she genuinely acknowledged. But here, teleportation was impossible. Fusion with the world was impossible. Catching him was effortless. A blue glow formed beneath her feet. In a flash, she surged forward, not teleportation, yet just as fast. In an instant, she closed the distance. Yet as she raised her hand to strike, she saw it. Wang Lin's eyes, calm, unwavering. Not a trace of panic. A flicker of unease stirred within her, but there was no time to think. She attacked. At that exact moment, a terrifying bone-deep cold erupted from the shattered earth. The ground exploded. A 1,000-foot-long Moongazer Serpent burst forth, charging directly toward both of them. What is this? Yao Bingyun had never encountered such a creature. Its grotesque form, its writhing, hair-covered body, everything about it sent a tremor through her mind. Its aura. It was no weaker than a Nirvana scryer cultivator. The moment it appeared, Wang Lin withdrew his aura completely. This was his final gamble. Chaos. Only within chaos could he find a path to survival. He had already prepared himself. There was a 50% chance the serpent would pursue Yao Bingyun, and a 50% chance it would come for him. The serpent twisted violently, every hair on its body standing on end. It moved with terrifying speed, and to Wang Lin's bitterness, it ignored Yao Bingyun completely. It charged straight at him. Yao Bingyun paused briefly, her formed seal halting mid-motion. Then without hesitation she followed. Wang Lin retreated relentlessly, the celestial sealing stamp spinning before him, forming a barrier against both pursuers. Behind him, the Moongazer Serpent's countless tendrils flared outward, its massive body quivering with excitement. Its mouth opened wide as it chased him, swallowing greedily, its expression almost delighted. The sight made Wang Lin's heart sink. At that moment, Yao Bingyun surged forward, overtaking the serpent. She appeared before Wang Lin, 2 fingers glowing with intense blue light as she struck mercilessly. Before Wang Lin could react, a furious roar erupted. The Moongazer Serpent exploded into motion. Every strand of hair on its body shot outward, lashing toward Yao Bingyun. It was as if she were attempting to steal something it cherished. Its countless tendrils surged forth, its massive body crashing toward her. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Without hesitation, he abandoned retreat. His right hand rose, the withered pair appeared upon it. The grotesque beast bone emerged, radiating a ghostly glow as a dense, sinister aura flooded the surroundings. Yao Bingyun's expression darkened. Before her stood Wang Lin, behind her madness incarnate. She could not understand. This creature had clearly been chasing Zhu Mu, so why, the moment she intervened, did it turn on her instead? Grey light spread beneath her feet as the serpent's attack closed in. Gritting her teeth, she formed a seal without hesitation. A blue core appeared in her palm, radiating an intense, freezing aura. With a sharp motion, she activated it. In an instant, layers upon layers of ice erupted outward, centered on her. They spread with terrifying speed. Even the grey light of the withered pair was frozen. More than half of the serpent's tendrils were immobilized. But then, roars echoed from all directions. The earth shattered again. 4 more 1,000-foot Moongazer serpents burst forth. Yao Bingyun's face turned deathly pale. Terror flooded her eyes. Without hesitation, she clutched the core and retreated. But at that moment, killing intent surged in Wang Lin's gaze. He had always been decisive. Now he chose to strike. Essence origin energy surged within him. Moving at full speed, he formed a sword with his finger. Call the wind. Black wind erupted, forming a violent storm that roared toward Yao Bingyun. At the same time, the serpents closed in, trapping her within a storm of monstrous fury. Yao Bingyun's face turned ashen. In all her years of cultivation, never had she faced such a crisis. Her gaze fell upon the core in her hand. Pain flashed in her eyes, but without hesitation, she crushed it. A terrifying power exploded outward. An ice vortex formed instantly, spreading with unstoppable force. Everything it touched froze. The power surged through the Earth's cracks, spreading across thousands of kilometers, coating everything in a crystalline layer of frost. Ice escape. Her hand formed a seal as she fled, vanishing through the ice itself. The moment she disappeared, Wang Lin pointed. Stop! Her figure froze for a fraction of a moment. Then she vanished. But that single pause was enough. The black wind pierced through the ice. A muffled groan echoed faintly before fading into nothingness. Killing intent flickered in Wang Lin's eyes. As the frost advanced toward him, he withdrew the celestial sealing stamp and left without looking back. Though the sound was not loud, it carried a terrifying force capable of striking directly at the origin soul. The cultivators outside the planet barely sensed its weight, but those within felt its full crushing impact. Among them were members of the Yao family, as well as cultivators from various other clans. In that instant, their bodies trembled uncontrollably as a primal fear surged from the depths of their souls, spreading wildly like an unstoppable plague. Almost everyone shared the same instinct to flee. They shot upward in unison. Some already near the surface broke through quickly. But before they could escape, the tentacles covering the planet lashed out and coiled around them. These long, writhing appendages formed an impenetrable barrier. Every attempt to break through was futile. As more cultivators surged upward, black fog seeped out from the tentacles, thick and suffocating. No one could escape. Spells failed. Treasures lost their power. One cultivator managed to rush forward, only to be instantly ensnared by countless tentacles. His body was crushed in the blink of an eye, and even his origin soul was devoured without mercy. The sight filled all who witnessed it with overwhelming terror. Deep within the Moongazer Serpent's body, Yao Bingyun emerged from a mass of ice. The moment she appeared, she coughed violently, spitting out a mouthful of black blood. Her face turned a sickly green, as though a dark vein slithered beneath her skin. What kind of spell is this? She gasped, her body trembling as more blood spilled from her lips, darker than before. The moment she had entered the ice, that sinister black wind had invaded her body, bringing with it an unnatural chill. With her cultivation, she should have been immune to cold, yet the icy sensation coursing through her was unmistakably real. What shocked her even more was that although she had expelled most of the black wind, a trace of it stubbornly remained. That lingering presence drained her strength, spreading weakness through her limbs. Worse still, she could feel her origin energy beginning to dissipate. Her expression grew even paler. Taking a deep breath, she shot out from the ground. The moment she emerged, her gaze fell upon the countless tentacles swaying in the air and the cultivators struggling in vain to escape. Previously, she had only found these tentacles strange, not worth deeper thought. But now, with her sharp mind, realization struck instantly. These tentacles were identical to those of the fierce beasts that had attacked her earlier. Her pupils shrank violently. A chill rose from her heart, spreading through her entire body and leaving her scalp numb. As she stared at the endless mass of tentacles, her face turned ashen, her eyes filled with shock and dread. These tentacles, the cultivators of the northern domain, were right. This entire cultivation planet, it's that beast I encountered before, magnified countless times. The violent tremors intensified. The earth began to collapse, fragments breaking apart and scattering into the void. Then a deafening roar erupted from deep within the planet. At that moment, Wang Lin was relentlessly severing the crimson threads. Each thread he cut caused the Moongazer Serpent to shudder violently. As he advanced deeper into the fissure, the threads grew denser, weaving a suffocating web. His gaze turned icy as he continued to unleash heavenly chop, tearing through them one by one. Suddenly he stopped. Before him stood a crimson thread as thick as a human body, stretching endlessly upward and downward. It dwarfed all the others he had encountered. His eyes gleamed. Without hesitation, he lunged forward and tore it apart with ruthless force. A maddened roar erupted from the Moongazer Serpent the instant the thread snapped. A thunderous explosion followed. The cultivation planet formed from the serpent itself began its final collapse. An ancient oppressive aura slowly spread outward, leaving the cultivators beyond utterly stunned. Before their eyes, a massive fissure split open across the planet's surface. It widened, unfolding, until it revealed a colossal oval-shaped monstrosity. An overwhelming aura of wrath surged into the heavens. The Moongazer Serpent had awakened. The instant it awoke, Wang Lin concealed his aura, completely withdrawing into stillness. Sitting cross-legged, he remained hidden, vigilant. Roar. The serpent's roar thundered like a storm of endless lightning, echoing across the void like countless sonic detonations. The shockwaves forced nearby cultivators to retreat again and again. At that moment, regardless of their cultivation level, every single cultivator felt an irresistible, suffocating fear. The long tentacles unfurled, slowly swaying through space like living nightmares. At the same time, a massive rift tore open where the serpent's head lay hidden. What is this? That cultivation planet. It was a living beast all along. How are we supposed to kill something like this? This creature must have existed since before the celestial realm collapsed. That Shumu tricked us, he led us here to die. We can't fight this thing. Retreat now. Panicked cries erupted from every direction. More than half the cultivators fled without hesitation. In their eyes, unless one possessed peak second-step cultivation, resisting such a creature was utterly impossible. The Moongazer Serpent was furious. The pain in its body was insignificant, barely enough to wake it. What truly enraged it was being disturbed so soon after falling asleep. To it, these past decades were nothing more than a fleeting instant. It felt as though it had only just closed its eyes before being rudely awakened. The irritation gnawed at its mind. When it saw the countless tiny life forms attempting to flee, it let out another deafening roar far more powerful than before. The very stars cracked. The sound spread across the entire northern domain. Some cultivators were obliterated instantly, their bodies exploding under the pressure. Even their origin souls failed to escape, collapsing into nothingness. And yet, the serpent's wrath had only just begun. As it moved forward, the void itself seemed to tremble. To the Moongazer Serpent, it was merely advancing. But to the cultivators, it was a cataclysmic beast charging straight toward them. Inside its massive body, the pupils of every cultivator shrank in terror. The cultivators standing before the Moongazer Serpent felt only a sudden gust of wind sweep past them. In the next instant, their bodies trembled violently, and their consciousness vanished into darkness. The colossal body of the Moongazer Serpent surged forward with terrifying speed. As it advanced, the air itself seemed to rupture, producing a series of explosive pops, as though space were on the verge of collapse beneath its might. Among those pursuing Wang Lin, the vast majority were peak late-stage ascendant or illusory yin cultivators. Corporeal yang experts were few, and those who had stepped into the Nirvana Scrya stage were rarer still. The unlucky ones, those caught directly in the serpent's path, had their bodies crushed instantly. Their origin souls fared no better, shattering without even the slightest chance to escape. In a single breath, the heavens filled with piercing screams. Terror spread like wildfire. The surrounding cultivators fled in panic, their speed driven by sheer desperation. This is not something we can fight. It's not worth dying for the Yao family's reward. Forget it, this Shumu can command a beast like this. It's best not to provoke such a monster. I'll leave before he even notices me. The ancestors were right, only those below the illusory yin stage should have been sent after Shumu. He's not someone we can afford to offend. Countless thoughts surged through their minds as they retreated in haste, abandoning all thoughts of pursuit. The Moongazer Serpent suddenly slowed. Its massive maw opened wide, so wide it seemed as though it might split apart entirely. Then, a roar, a sound so overwhelming it defied comprehension, erupted from its depths. It spread outward with the serpent at its center, carrying with it a force that pierced through everything. It was as if countless bolts of thunder had struck at once, their echoes stacking endlessly upon one another. The cultivators, who had not fled far enough, exploded instantly, their bodies shattered. Their origin souls were annihilated. Nothing remained. With that deafening roar, the Moongazer Serpent surged forward once more. Its countless tentacles writhed and lashed through space, each one a weapon more terrifying than any divine treasure. A single touch drained the vitality of a cultivator, turning their face deathly pale. A few more touches, and their origin soul would dissipate entirely. Death came silently and absolutely. The sight was horrifying beyond words. The serpent's immense planet-like body advanced relentlessly, its endless tentacles sweeping through space as it pursued those cultivators who could not teleport away. On their faces, fear, despair, utter terror. This was no battle. This was a massacre, a slaughter unleashed by the Moongazer Serpent to vent its awakening fury. The fleeing cultivators cursed their own weakness, their own slowness. Regret filled their hearts, but it came far too late. From the 5 major cultivation planets of the Northern Domain, cultivators emerged, only to freeze in horror at the sight before them. Without hesitation, they activated their planetary defensive formations. Not a single one dared step forward to help. After its roar subsided, the Moongazer Serpent came to a sudden halt. Low guttural sounds reverberated from deep within its body. Then, from its gaping maw, smaller Moongazer Serpents began to pour out. Though insignificant compared to the planet-sized main body, these creatures were still enormous in the eyes of cultivators. And with their arrival, the slaughter reached its peak. Like a swarm unleashed, the smaller serpents scattered in all directions, devouring everything in their path. Among the Yao family, only those who had reached the Nirvana Scryer stage managed to escape. All others were dead. As for the assisting cultivation clans, the majority had perished under the serpent's wrath. The void itself was thick with the stench of blood. Yet even so, the Moongazer Serpent's fury had not subsided. Its colossal body shifted, and from its mouth came a strange, complex sound, almost human. This alone was enough to shatter the remaining cultivator's sanity. A beast of such size, capable of casting spells. If it unleashed its full power, everything here would be reduced to ruin. The awakening of the Moongazer Serpent was a catastrophe. Far away, 50,000 kilometers from the raging destruction, 3 figures stood silently within the void. Their forms were indistinct, blurred, as if separated from reality itself. Yet the auras they exuded were suffocatingly powerful. Among them, Master Flamespark. A faint smile curved his lips as he spoke slowly. I didn't expect this little one to lead them to the Moon Beast. But had he not done so, he would never have caught my attention. He turned slightly. Fellow cultivators, I have prepared this plan for many years. This Moon Beast is one of its key pieces. I brought you here so you could witness its strength. Now that you have, what do you think? Beside him stood a middle-aged man, clad in a purple robe, a yin-yang symbol emblazoned upon his chest. His brows furrowed. Master Flamespark, your plan is madness. A third figure, an old man in red robes, spoke with a faint smile. From a distance he appeared gentle, but the coldness in his eyes betrayed a far darker nature. Mad, perhaps, he said calmly, but if it succeeds, our chances will increase by 10%. The man in purple snorted softly, offering no further comment. Master Flamespark's gaze sharpened. Madness or not, it is necessary. If the All-Heaven star system is to wage war against the Alliance, star system strength alone will not suffice. Too few of our cultivators have faced true life-and-death battles. That is the flaw of family-based cultivation. In the Alliance star system, even one's fellow sect members may become enemies. A single moment of carelessness leads to death. That environment breeds ruthlessness, cunning, survivors who are far more dangerous. He paused briefly. Look at Shumu. That alone should be enough to understand. The purple-robed man fell silent, deep in thought. The red-robed elder chuckled softly. This Shumu is quite promising. He would be well suited to join my planet Dong Lin. Master Flamespark's eyes lit up as he laughed. The 108 celestial titles we seek are meant for people like him. Only with such individuals leading the way can we temper the cultivators of the all-heaven star system through a true baptism of blood. The red-robed man Xiang smiled faintly. In that regard, it seems Old Man Blood God is even more decisive. To prepare his clan for the war, he was willing to sacrifice even that treasure for their trial by blood. Master Flamespark shook his head, a trace of admiration flickering in his eyes. He only seeks greater benefits in the coming war. Yet even I did not expect such resolve. That treasure had only one use left, yet he did not keep it for himself. At that moment, the purple-robed man spoke again, his voice cold. Our investigation shows that Shu Mu comes from the Alliance star system. He turned his gaze toward Master Flamespark. You value him so highly. Are you not afraid he will betray us once he returns there? Master Flamespark's expression cooled. Then he smiled. Fellow cultivator Gong Sun, I too come from the Alliance star system. Are you afraid that I, who orchestrated all of this, will betray you as well? The middle-aged man met his gaze coldly, then turned away without another word. Master Flamespark let out a faint snort inwardly. During this time, I have already investigated Shu Mu's origins. He is hunted, forced to flee just as I once was. With his temperament, betrayal is unlikely. And even if he does betray us, then I will simply kill him. There is no need for you to lecture me. What is a so-called ancient inheritance family worth? I do not even consider you worthy of concern. The red-robed elder broke the tension. Enough. Since Master Flamespark is confident, we need not dwell on it. Now, it is time for us to act against this beast. If too many die, it will be a loss for the all-heaven star system. Let us consider how to drive it away. Master Flamespark nodded. That will not be difficult. With our combined strength and the assistance of those old monsters, once the passage opens, we can drive it into the Alliance star system. His eyes gleamed with madness. When that happens, before he could finish, his figure flickered and vanished. The other two disappeared as well. Meanwhile, the Moongazer Serpent continued its rampage. Its countless tentacles swept across space, harvesting lives without pause. The surrounding void fractured under its power, preventing teleportation and trapping the fleeing cultivators in despair. No matter how fast they ran, they could not escape. The smaller Moongazer Serpents only deepened that despair, devouring everything in their path. Blood saturated the void. Then, above the Moongazer Serpent, a blood-red octagonal formation suddenly appeared. It radiated an overwhelming aura. The moment it spread, ripples formed in the surrounding space. Anyone who touched those ripples felt an irresistible suppression. Standing atop the formation was the red-robed old man. His expression was solemn as the formation descended. The ripples spread rapidly, sealing the Moongazer Serpent within. "Move quickly," he shouted. "I can't hold it for long." Beneath the formation, the Moongazer Serpent's fury reached its peak. It roared and charged upward in a frenzy. At the same time, Master Flamespark stepped out from the void before it. With a single wave of his sleeve, a large number of cultivators were swept away, vanishing without a trace. On the other side, the black-robed man appeared without warning. His right hand formed a seal as he grasped at the void itself, tearing open a vast vortex. It twisted through space, devouring everything in its path. Any cultivator who touched it vanished without a trace. Master Flamespark and the black-robed man moved with terrifying speed. While the red-robed elder restrained the Moongazer Serpent, they swept through the battlefield, striking down the surrounding cultivators one by one, sending them fleeing or forcing them to merge with the world to escape. Whenever they encountered members of the Yao family, Master Flamespark's gaze turned icy. He would deliberately increase his strength by just a fraction. Yet that slight excess was enough to leave them gravely wounded before they vanished. The Moongazer Serpent was enraged. Though the octagonal seal merely confined it, identical seals had also manifested around the smaller Moongazer Serpents, trapping them momentarily as well. A storm of fury surged through its colossal body. It could no longer remember how many years had passed since it had last been sealed. It thrashed violently within the octagonal prison, causing it to tremble and quake. The rumbling only deepened its rage. Then, two cracks appeared upon its head. They were its eyes, clouded and murky as though filled with drifting smoke, yet within them flickered a terrifying madness. Strange, ancient syllables spilled from its mouth. Before it, countless specks of light gathered, condensing into the shape of a massive, crude finger. The wrath of the Moongazer took form as the finger of an ancient god. The red-robed elder did not hesitate. He slammed both hands onto the seal, his expression turning grave as he shouted, "Quick!" His robes billowed backward, though no wind stirred, his hair rising wildly as an immense surge of origin energy gathered within him like a storm on the verge of breaking. The moment he saw that finger, his mind trembled. With another earth-shaking roar from the Moongazer Serpent, the ancient god finger descended slowly, inexorably toward the octagonal seal. The instant it made contact, the seal shattered. It did not resist. It did not endure. It broke into countless fragments, blasted apart, as though it had never existed. The red-robed elder's face turned pale as he was flung backward, swept away amidst the debris toward Master Flamespark and the black-robed man. By then, the two had already driven away every remaining cultivator. Master Flamespark's gaze locked onto the descending finger, his eyes blazing with excitement. "What a magnificent moon beast!" He laughed. "If I bring you into the Alliance star system, Xuanzhongzi will surely be shaken to his core." As the Moongazer Serpent roared, the finger pressed down upon them. It was as though a true ancient god had emerged, raising its hand and casting judgment upon the world. Fellow Taoists, Master Flamespark said, laughter ringing in his voice. "We cannot withstand this beast's ultimate strike. If our true bodies were present, perhaps we could endure it. But now that our task is complete, why not take this chance to personally experience its might?" With that, he surged forward. Flames erupted across his body the moment he moved, monstrous fire roaring outward until it completely engulfed him. The ancient god finger descended. Master Flamespark roared as his hands formed a seal. The flames within him condensed, twisting into the form of a blazing dragon that surged forward to meet the attack. This was everything he possessed. As the flame dragon burst forth, his body dissolved entirely. No trace of his origin soul remained. Only the dragon, only the fire. The collision shook the heavens. A thunderous explosion echoed across the northern domain, reverberating through countless worlds. The flame dragon shattered, yet the scattered flames clung to the ancient god finger, coiling around it, burning fiercely as if refusing to fade. The red-robed elder's eyes gleamed with a strange light. Laughing, he stepped forward. With a swift motion, he pressed his hand between his brows, and his entire body transformed into a crimson sword, shooting forth at blinding speed toward the finger wrapped in flames. The black-robed, middle-aged man's expression hardened with resolve. This clone, he could afford to lose it. But such an opportunity to personally experience the peak power of this beast, it might yield unexpected insight. At his level, advancement was nearly impossible. Perhaps this was his chance. As he rushed forward, his hands formed a seal, and his body transformed into a black eagle. Though illusory, it radiated an ancient primal aura as it tore through the void toward the descending finger. Then, impact. A deafening explosion swept across the northern domain as though the heavens themselves were collapsing. The flame dragon gone. The crimson sword shattered. The black eagle dispersed into nothingness. Yet the ancient god finger remained, dimmed but unbroken. As the Moongazer Serpent roared once more, the finger swept across the battlefield before dissolving into countless motes of light, returning to its body. Its gaze turned cold. Opening its maw, it swallowed all the smaller Moongazer Serpents back into itself. Then, with slow, deliberate movement, its immense body drifted forward, countless tendrils swaying in the void until it vanished among the stars. Far away within a hidden chamber, deep inside the Thunder Celestial Temple, three figures sat around an ancient formation, each occupying a vital node. Among them, Master Flamespark, At that moment he opened his eyes, hesitation flickering within them. The other two followed suit, the red-robed elder and the black-robed man. "Very strong," the black-robed man said quietly. The red-robed elder Xiang spoke slowly. "This beast is exactly as recorded in my family's archives. We must not provoke it lightly." A trace of madness gleamed in Master Flamespark's eyes. "If that is so," he said calmly, "then we must gather more allies and begin planning how to capture it." In the eastern domain, within the Yao family's ancestral hall, more than 10 tokens behind Blood God shattered simultaneously. Wisps of white energy drifted out, only to be gathered with a sweep of his sleeve. His expression darkened as he looked toward the heavens. "He truly is worthy of being from the Alliance star system," he murmured. "Compared to my Yao family's 3rd generation, he is far more decisive and far more tenacious." After a long silence, he raised his hand. A blood-red jade condensed from thin air. "Send 2nd generation Yao Yun to the northern domain and take Shu Mu's life." The jade glowed crimson, then vanished. From that day forward, the name Master Demon Shu Mu spread like wildfire. Across the northern domain, under the relentless pursuit of the Yao family and countless cultivators, he had not only survived, he had struck back. Using the colossal beast, he unleashed devastation, annihilating a vast number of cultivators and shaking the entire All-Heaven star system. No cultivation family dared involve themselves any longer. The survivors' accounts spread like a storm. Master Demon Shu Mu must not be provoked unless absolutely necessary. He was madness incarnate, powerful, ruthless, bloodthirsty, not only willing to slaughter low-level cultivators, but even willing to awaken that ancient beast to bring catastrophe upon all. Such viciousness rivaled even the infamous cultivators of planet Donghua. From that moment on, no one dared interfere, and as tales of his deeds within the Thunder Celestial realm spread, his legend etched itself into the hearts of all. The title Master Demon rose to unimaginable prominence. Yet Wang Lin knew none of this. At that moment, he moved cautiously within the Moongazer Serpent, his expression dark. Countless smaller serpents pursued him relentlessly, their tendrils curled with excitement, their massive jaws opening again and again as they chased him, eager to devour the remnants of his aura. Wang Lin frowned as he pressed forward. Something was wrong. Everything inside the serpent was different from before. These creatures were excited by his presence. When Yao Bingyun attacked him, one had even intervened to help. That memory lingered in his mind. Then, understanding dawned. It must be the ancient god leather armor. His eyes lit up. With a thought, he stored the armor away. At once he shifted direction. The pursuing serpents froze, then erupted in fury as though something precious had been stolen. They scattered, searching wildly. Wang Lin exhaled softly. Carefully he continued onward, searching for greed's furnace, the treasure that stirred a deep excitement within him. But suddenly, ripples spread through the serpent's body. They moved rapidly, closing in on him from all directions. Wang Lin's expression changed as he retreated, but the ripples came from behind as well. Too fast. They swept through him in an instant, then vanished. It was as if they existed solely to detect abnormalities within the body. And now, the Moongazer Serpent had found him. A low, muffled roar echoed from within its depths. At first faint, then growing louder, stronger, until it became an endless thunderous rumble within Wang Lin's ears. It was the Serpent spell, a force capable of shattering the origin soul itself. As the roar reverberated through the void, Wang Lin's expression turned deathly pale. A searing pain erupted within his origin soul, as though it were being violently torn apart. Had he still been wearing the ancient god leather armor, the impact would not have been so severe. But now, blood seeped uncontrollably from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Sensing imminent danger, Wang Lin let out a bitter smile. Without hesitation, he slapped his bag of holding. The ancient god leather armor appeared at once, enveloping his origin soul. It was as though an invisible barrier had formed around him. Though the roar still thundered endlessly, Its destructive force upon his origin soul was reduced to something he could barely endure. Yet the moment the armor appeared, a different danger was awakened. The aura it released caused every tentacle on the smaller Moongazer serpents to tremble with excitement. Like beasts driven mad, they surged toward Wang Lin in a frenzy. His scalp tingled with numbness. He was trapped in a cruel dilemma. If he removed the armor, the roar would shatter his origin soul. But if he kept it on, he would attract an endless swarm of Moongazer serpents. With a quiet sigh, Wang Lin's expression suddenly shifted. A frigid aura seeped from the ground before him. The earth split open with a crack, and a Moongazer serpent over 100 feet long burst forth, lunging straight at him. From Wang Lin's perspective, its gaping maw was far from merely seeking the armor's aura. It was clearly aiming to devour him whole. After 1,000 years of cultivation, Wang Lin had long abandoned the habit of comforting himself with illusions. He did not believe, even for a moment, that the serpent would recognize him as its master simply because of the ancient god aura. His gaze turned sharp and cold. Without hesitation, he retreated. The serpent pursued, relentlessly devouring the aura emanating from his body as it advanced. This aura was invisible to cultivators, and even most ancient beasts could not perceive it. Only a rare few creatures among them, the Moongazer serpents, were capable of sensing the aura of an ancient god. Wang Lin's eyes grew colder still. If the serpent could devour that aura, it would not hesitate to devour him along with it. As he retreated, an even colder presence swept across the area. His expression darkened further, and he abruptly changed direction. Behind him, the ground split open once more. A colossal Moongazer serpent over 1,000 feet long erupted from the earth. Its countless tentacles coiled tightly around its body, its massive jaws stretched wide in grotesque anticipation. Thick strands of saliva dripped from its mouth as it lunged forward, eager to consume him. Cracking sounds echoed from all directions. The earth fractured repeatedly as more than 10 fissures appeared. From each Moongazer serpents of varying sizes burst forth, converging upon Wang Lin. Yet Wang Lin's eyes remained calm. As he retreated, origin energy surged within him, gathering to a peak before erupting outward. A collapsing vortex formed, propelling his body backward at an even greater speed. Behind him, a swarm of Moongazer serpents gave chase. Their eyes gleamed with savage excitement, yet beneath that frenzy lurked something even more terrifying. Greed. They did not merely crave the aura of the armor. They wanted Wang Lin himself so that they might possess that aura forever. Wang Lin's scalp tingled as the pursuit tightened around him. A wry smile touched his lips, and then he abruptly came to a halt. Before him, hundreds of cracks split open the ground. Moongazer serpents surged out. With those behind and those ahead, he was completely surrounded. At the very instant the serpents lunged to devour him, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with ferocity. He opened his mouth and released a thunderous roar that echoed through the body of the Moongazer serpent. The effect was immediate. All the smaller serpents charging toward him froze, then retreated, instinctively parting to form a passage. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, but in that same moment, cracks erupted once more. A massive Moongazer serpent surged through the opening. Its speed was terrifying, and the aura it exuded was no weaker than that of the blood ancestor. Wang Lin's expression changed drastically. Before he could react, the serpent closed in and swallowed him whole. Without pause, it burrowed into the earth and vanished. The surrounding Moongazer serpents followed in its wake, disappearing into the depths. The serpent that devoured Wang Lin was grey in color, its eyes brimming with ruthless intent. Within its mother's body, its speed was unimaginable. In less than 5 minutes, it arrived at a mysterious location. There was no earth here, only a vast vortex. Each time it revolved, it released waves of chilling energy that spread outward like a silent tide. Had Wang Lin been able to see it, he would have immediately recognized this place. It was the location of the Moongazer serpent's head, and the resting place of the moon essence. Upon arrival, the serpent opened its mouth and spat. Wang Lin was expelled, instantly hurled forward without the slightest chance to resist, straight into the vortex. Behind him, countless Moongazer serpents settled down, lying motionless as if in silent reverence. The moment Wang Lin entered the vortex, his eyes lit up. When he had been swallowed, a mysterious force had surged into his body, suppressing his origin energy entirely. It felt as though his origin soul had been severed from his body, reducing him from a cultivator to a mere mortal. The shock shook him deeply, but almost immediately, the ancient god leather armor emitted a powerful suction force, drawing that mysterious energy away and absorbing it completely. His origin energy surged back to life. As he was cast deeper into the vortex, Wang Lin finally gained a clear view of his surroundings. What he saw made him inhale sharply, his heart trembling. This was a long, narrow space. From the void, countless tentacles extended outward, swaying slowly like living shadows. At the center stood a massive furnace, bound tightly by innumerable tentacles that seemed to be feeding upon its aura. Occasionally a bulge would ripple along the tentacles, as though something was being transferred within them. The furnace. It belonged to greed. Yet even this did not compare to what truly shocked him. His gaze shifted, and he saw them. People. They were entangled within the tentacles, countless figures, male and female, old and young, packed together in horrifying density. Nearly every tentacle held a human body. All of them were naked. All of them were emaciated. Their eyes were closed, their bodies devoid of vitality, as though they were nothing more than dried corpses. The tentacles were feeding on them, draining their life. Wang Lin did not recognize a single one of them, but he could sense not all of them were cultivators. Among them were mortals. His gaze settled on a small figure, a boy no more than 6 or 7 years old. Though his body had withered to skin and bone, Wang Lin could still tell he had once been a child. Now there was no trace of life left within him, only an expression of unbearable pain and despair frozen forever upon his face. A cold chill rose within Wang Lin's heart, spreading through his entire being. He looked deeper into the endless darkness ahead. There was no end in sight, only more tentacles, more bodies, each one bound, each one consumed. Moongazer Serpent, Wang Lin murmured inwardly. He could already guess. These people had been gathered over countless years, reduced to nothing more than a reservoir of life force. And then, a terrifying thought surfaced in his mind. When the Moongazer Serpent was planet Xianxia, there were ruins of cities. That planet once had both cultivators and mortals. Did they truly leave? Wang Lin drew a slow breath, his expression turning complex and heavy. His gaze lingered on the boy. At that moment, the void trembled. Countless tentacles shot toward him like bolts of lightning. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. If not for the ancient god leather armor, he would have ended up just like those mortals, utterly powerless. His life drained without resistance. But now, killing intent surged within him. He did not strike the tentacles. Instead, he moved like a wisp of smoke, weaving through them as he charged toward the massive furnace. Unless absolutely necessary, he would not destroy these tentacles. If he alerted the Moongazer Serpent, it might provoke an even more dangerous response. The tentacles missed. In an instant, Wang Lin arrived beside the furnace. It radiated an ancient, profound aura that spread slowly through the space. His eyes lit up. The aura within the furnace was even stronger, so potent that the surrounding tentacles only clung to its surface, unwilling to enter. At that moment, even more tentacles surged toward him. Without hesitation, Wang Lin stepped directly into the furnace. The instant he entered, a powerful force erupted from the vortex behind him. Moments later, a graceful figure appeared within the vortex. A woman. Her face was pale, her eyes closed, unconscious. It was Yao Bingyun. The moment she appeared, half the tentacles shifted toward her. They wrapped around her body, draining her vitality without pause. Her robes, already corroded, tore apart under their grip. Even her bag of holding was destroyed, collapsing into nothing. Her clothes hung in tatters, exposing large portions of her skin. Then, her eyelashes trembled. Slowly, She opened her eyes. Wang Lin's eyes lit up the moment he stepped into the furnace. The space within was narrow and confined, yet the instant he entered, he immediately began circulating the origin energy inside his body. Outside, countless tentacles stretched toward him, wrapping tightly around the furnace, but none dared to breach its interior. They lingered at its surface as if wary of crossing an unseen boundary. Wang Lin let out a quiet breath of relief. For now, this place could be considered safe. He pushed aside the chaos beyond and sank into thought. Then, without hesitation, he sat down, closed his eyes, and entered cultivation. The moment his eyes shut, his shadow flickered. Tarshan stepped out silently, his expression cold and vigilant. He took a seat nearby like an immovable guardian. At the slightest sign of danger, he would strike without hesitation. As Wang Lin sat in stillness, a deep exhaustion welled up from within his heart. Ever since entering the Thunder Celestial realm, he had lived on the edge, his mind constantly tense, his awareness stretched to its limits. After escaping that realm, he had been swallowed by the Nether Beast, only clawing his way out through a brutal and blood-soaked struggle. Originally, he had planned to seek out Li Yun to study restrictions, to rest even if only for a short while, after guiding the chosen immortal clan to planet Qinglin. But fate had not granted him that luxury. What followed forced him to become ruthless, to fight, relentlessly. The pursuit of the Yao family and the involvement of countless other cultivation clans had driven him into constant flight. Though he often held the upper hand, every moment teetered on the edge of disaster. A single lapse in focus could mean grievous injury or death. The strain had accumulated layer upon layer, buried deep within him. Only now, seated within this furnace, did he finally find a sliver of reprieve. The cultivators outside must have suffered heavy losses under the Moongazer Serpent's wrath, he thought quietly. For a short time, no one will dare hunt me. And even if they come, they cannot enter the serpent's body to find me. A faint calm settled within him. This place is dangerous, but it is also safe. With his eyes closed, origin energy circulated steadily through his body, gently nourishing his battered origin soul. Yet as it flowed, waves of pain continued to rise from within. During this period, he had faced too many life-and-death crises. Without the ancient god leather armor, he would have perished countless times over. The cruelty of the cultivation world, where death lurked in every shadow, no longer stirred his Tao heart. He had long grown accustomed to it. From his days in the Alliance star system, such trials had been his constant companions. Yao Bingyun's spell, it damages the origin soul too severely. Wang Lin opened his eyes. A cold glint flashed within them. If not for the ancient god leather armor, his body had suffered little harm. It was his origin soul that bore the brunt of the damage. Fortunately, the armor had mitigated the worst of it. Now, with his mind settled, he immersed himself fully in cultivation once more. Outside the furnace, countless tentacles swayed in the darkness. Not far from a vortex, Yao Bingyun remained composed. There was no panic in her expression. While fleeing the Moongazer Serpent, she had been swallowed whole by a massive serpent. The moment she was devoured, a strange and mysterious force invaded her body, separating her origin energy from her physical form, reducing her to something akin to a mortal. Soon after, she lost consciousness. When she awoke, she found herself here, bound tightly by writhing tentacles. A chilling sensation seeped into her body from every direction. The origin energy within her was being slowly drained bit by bit without pause. The process was not fast, but it was relentless. Yao Bingyun remained calm. Her entire life had been devoted to the pursuit of the Tao. Her temperament was steady, unshaken by fear. She understood that panic would only hasten her demise. Only calmness could reveal a path to survival. Yet when she truly saw her surroundings, her face turned pale. All around her, countless shriveled corpses hung suspended within the tentacles, drained of life and vitality. Even her composure wavered. After a long while, she took a deep breath. Slowly, she forced herself to calm down. Only then did she realize The tentacles were not only draining her origin energy, they were consuming her vitality as well. Close the eyes. She pondered silently, her heart steadying. Her eyelids fell shut. Seal the ears. Her body trembled faintly as she isolated herself from all external sound. Extinguish the breath. Her body relaxed completely. Her breath faded until it was as if it no longer existed. Seal the soul. Her origin soul stilled completely. Though separated from her origin energy, it entered a mysterious, sealed state detached from all motion. Seal existence. All living things possessed an imprint of existence. At this moment, Yao Bingyun decisively erased her own. All signs of life vanished. She floated there silent and unmoving. Like a corpse, she had reached the seal existent stage of the soul seal celestial spell. This was not a technique governed by talent, but by the strength of one's Tao heart. Only those who could resist losing themselves within its depths could master it. As her existence sealed completely, faint cracking sounds echoed from within her body. A thin layer of frost began to form, spreading rapidly. The ice extended outward, freezing even the tentacle wrapped around her. The cold intensified layer upon layer until more than 3 feet of solid ice encased her entirely. Within it, her half-naked form remained perfectly still, serene, beautiful, and utterly lifeless. Time passed slowly. Within the Moongazer Serpent's body, there was no distinction between day and night. The colossal beast drifted silently through the northern domain. On one such day, it came to a halt, deep within the northern domain, where stars were sparse and no cultivation planets lay nearby. Its massive body began to curl inward, transforming once more into the shape of a planet. The countless tentacles retracted, shortening until they were only 1,000 feet long. Dense black fog billowed outward, enveloping the planet. Gradually, everything grew quiet. Inside the furnace, Wang Lin opened his eyes. His origin soul had only recovered to 80%. Such injuries were not easily healed. His gaze was sharp, like lightning, as it fell upon the furnace surrounding him. A dense, ancient god aura lingered within it. Though constantly absorbed by the Moongazer Serpent, it remained extraordinarily powerful. The Moongazer Serpent did not kill me. It brought me here. Wang Lin's eyes flickered thoughtfully. This place is not only for absorbing vitality, it is also where it absorbs ancient god aura. His thoughts deepened. It means, whenever it encounters something infused with ancient god aura, it stores it here. A spark ignited in his eyes. That means there must be more here. A mysterious light shone within his gaze. He raised his hand and pressed it gently against the furnace wall. His divine sense surged inward. If greed could control it, then so can I. The moment his divine sense entered, a terrifying suction force erupted. It pulled violently at his origin soul. Wang Lin had anticipated this. It came from the tentacles outside. His origin soul stood firm like a lone boat amidst raging waves as he forced his way deeper. Slowly, painstakingly, his divine sense spread across the furnace. He left his imprint, bit by bit, yet no sense of control emerged. Wang Lin frowned, but he did not give up. Again and again, his divine sense swept through the furnace, engraving itself inch by inch. The process was slow, exhausting. Every moment required him to resist the overwhelming suction. Yet he persisted. As time passed, he began to notice something. At the corner of the furnace's exterior, there was a rune, subtle, complex, barely etched into the surface, so faint it was nearly invisible to the naked eye. Even divine sense would overlook it, unless one searched as meticulously as Wang Lin. Upon examining it, his eyes turned cold. Within that rune, there remained a trace of divine sense. Greed's aura. Greed isn't dead. A chill passed through Wang Lin's gaze. After a long silence, he calmed himself. If his imprint remains, I cannot control the furnace. But then why can I still leave my own imprint? His thoughts raced. Then, he recalled the rune. This furnace was refined and discarded by an ancient god. The memories I inherited only show its form. not how to use it. My inheritance was incomplete. His divine sense returned to the rune. Carefully, patiently, he observed. Time passed. Then his eyes lit up. Despite his enmity, he could not help but feel a trace of admiration. This greed is truly gifted. It's clear he didn't know how to use the furnace either. Unable to control it, he found this unknown rune, carved it onto the surface, and linked it to a portion of the furnace's power. What he controls is not the furnace itself, it's the rune, and through it, he borrows the furnace's abilities. Wang Lin inhaled deeply. Without hesitation, all of his divine sense converged upon the rune. Erase his imprint, and the furnace returns to its rightful owner. His eyes gleamed with excitement, but just as his divine sense moved to erase greed's mark, his expression changed abruptly. Without hesitation, he withdrew everything. His divine sense surged back into his body. Wang Lin formed a series of seals with his hands, then pressed them repeatedly against his chest. In an instant, his aura vanished completely. Only a faint strand of divine sense remained extending outward to observe the world beyond. A chilling presence soon flooded the narrow space. At its center stood a gaunt figure bound tightly by writhing tentacles. It was an old man. There had been no trace of vitality within him before, yet now, as the cold aura spread, an overwhelming surge of life force poured into his body. This vitality was so intense that his flesh swelled grotesquely, expanding like an overinflated balloon. Yet his eyes remained shut, not the slightest hint of awakening. When Wang Lin's divine sense beheld this, his mind trembled. With his cultivation and mastery over life and death, he could clearly perceive something others could not. Within that surging vitality lay a thread of death, but it was utterly suppressed. As the vitality continued to surge, the old man's body expanded further and further. A series of cracking sounds echoed as his bones shattered one after another, unable to withstand the overwhelming force. Without the structure of bone to contain it, his body ballooned even more grotesquely. Cold energy erupted wildly from him, flooding the surrounding space. Even the tentacles began to recoil, slowly withdrawing, as if wary. Then, as his swollen body reached its limit, becoming nothing more than a grotesque sphere of flesh, a bulge appeared. It moved rapidly. It traveled through his body like something alive. From within, muffled yet piercing cries echoed. The moment Wang Lin heard them, his expression turned grim. He knew that sound all too well. Suddenly, the old man's body trembled violently. A crack split open across his flesh, and from within it, an immense wave of cold energy burst forth. A sharp, excited roar followed. All around, the countless tentacles began to sway as though welcoming the birth of one of their own. In the next instant, something emerged. A slender 20-foot-long figure forced its way out from the crack, twisting and writhing violently. It tore free, and the old man's body exploded. No blood, no flesh, only a violent surge of cold energy. Wang Lin's heart shook. What emerged was a newborn Moongazer serpent. Its body was translucent, its countless tendrils faint and ghost-like. The moment it appeared, it turned back and inhaled the remnants of the old man's body. The corpse seemed to melt into nothingness, devoured completely. As it absorbed the surrounding cold energy, its body rapidly expanded from 20 feet to 100. Its tendrils gradually darkened, turning a deep crimson, and its form grew increasingly ferocious. With a sudden twist, it shot forward like lightning, heading toward the distant vortex. It passed through without resistance. Once it was gone, the tentacles slowly calmed, returning to stillness. The cold energy dissipated, drawn back into them. Everything returned to silence. Everything, except that one person was gone. The tentacles that had bound the old man receded into the void, vanishing as though nothing had ever occurred. Wang Lin opened his eyes, drawing in a sharp breath. No wonder. There are so many Moongazer serpents. His voice was low, filled with realization. According to 2C's memories, if a Moongazer serpent remains outside an ancient god's body for too long, it will inevitably perish. His gaze darkened. But this one, not only did it survive, it has been using the bodies of cultivators and mortals to create new life. It has formed a cycle. A faint chill passed through him. This Moongazer Serpent must have undergone an extraordinary transformation over countless years. Otherwise, such a thing would be impossible. With his deep understanding, Wang Lin could already grasp 70 to 80% of the truth. He fell into silent contemplation. Only after the surroundings had completely calmed did his divine sense extend once more, this time toward the rune, etched upon the furnace. The moment his divine sense enveloped it, his eyes turned cold. Without hesitation, he launched a ruthless assault, his divine sense colliding directly with greed's lingering imprint. Even at his peak, greed's cultivation had only been comparable to Wang Lin's current strength. Now gravely wounded, his divine sense was fragile. Under Wang Lin's attack, it collapsed quickly. The moment it dissipated, Wang Lin did not delay. He immediately branded the rune with his own divine sense. Greed had nearly perished to obtain this furnace. He knew it was a treasure, yet he could not control it. In desperation, he devised a method, spending over 1,000 years refining a rune to command it. He had painstakingly engraved that rune onto the furnace. And now, all of it benefited Wang Lin. As Wang Lin's divine sense imprinted itself, a strange sensation arose within him. It felt familiar. A subtle connection formed, linking the furnace to the ancient god leather armor. Yet the connection was vague, elusive, like a flower glimpsed through mist. He could sense it, but not fully grasp it. Wang Lin understood immediately. The method he used was flawed, no different from greed's shortcut. While it granted him basic control, it was far from enough to unleash the furnace's true power. Still, he was not in a hurry. His eyes gleamed faintly. As long as I return to the Alliance star system, this furnace will reveal its true might in the hands of my original body. Following that faint connection, his hands began to form seals. At his command, the furnace trembled softly, releasing a low hum. Ripples spread outward as dense white gas poured forth, enveloping Wang Lin completely. In that moment, he felt as though he had become one with the furnace. A wondrous sensation, as though he was the furnace itself. With a single thought, he spoke softly. "Change position." The furnace shuddered and vanished. When it reappeared, it was already outside the entanglement of the tentacles. Strangely, the tentacles did not react. They remained exactly as they were, as if the furnace had never moved. Wang Lin stepped out, the white mist trailing behind him like drifting clouds. At that moment, he resembled a celestial descending from the heavens. Then, his gaze fell upon Yao Bingyun. Earlier, when his divine sense spread across the furnace, he had already noticed her, but had no time to examine her closely. Now, he did. Encased in ice, her half-revealed form carried a strange, ethereal beauty. With her eyes closed, the usual coldness she exuded was gone, replaced by a quiet, fragile elegance. Yet none of this stirred Wang Lin. His gaze remained calm as still water. This woman's cultivation method is indeed peculiar. Even without her origin energy, she had managed to preserve herself, sealing everything within her body so that the Moongazer Serpent could not draw anything from her. But his eyes grew colder. She underestimated it. This ice will not hold for long. Raising his right hand, he pressed it toward the ice. "You've hunted me relentlessly, nearly killed me twice. If I don't repay that, then I am no longer Wang Lin." A faint smile touched his lips. Cold, decisive. His finger descended. Origin energy surged from his body into the ice. Cracking sounds echoed as fractures spread outward from his touch. They halted just 1 inch from her body. No further. Wang Lin's gaze sharpened. More energy surged forward. He did not stop. Moving around her, he struck repeatedly, breaking away layer after layer of ice until only a thin shell remained. This woman must be among the strongest of the Yao family's 3rd generation. His expression hardened. "Since they seek my life, then I will refine her into a celestial god. Even if it fails, it does not matter." To Wang Lin, an enemy was an enemy. Beauty meant nothing. Mercy did not exist. Even so, she still could not compare to Liu Mei. "This is karma," he said softly. "Had you not pursued me, this day would never have come." He spat out a strand of essence origin energy which circled the remaining ice, grinding against it relentlessly. His finger continued to fall again and again. Cracks spread. The ice weakened. In truth, had her origin energy been present, Wang Lin would never have broken through so easily. But now, she was vulnerable. She had never imagined he would be here, nor that he would retain his origin energy, protected by the ancient god leather armor, free to move within the serpent. At last, as the ice began to collapse, Yao Bingyun's eyes slowly opened and met his gaze. The instant Yao Bingyun opened her eyes, Wang Lin's gaze turned icy. A faint smile curved his lips. His right hand opened and origin energy surged violently, condensing upon his 5 fingers. Each finger shone with dazzling brilliance as they struck the ice encasing Yao Bingyun. Then, Wang Lin retreated without hesitation. White mist coiled around him as he raised his hand and slashed down mercilessly. This strike was not aimed at Yao Bingyun, but at the tentacles binding her. Everything unfolded in the span of a heartbeat so fast it defied comprehension. The moment the 5 streams of origin energy struck the ice, a series of sharp, cracking sounds rang out. Like 5 venomous dragons, they pierced through the frozen layer and shot straight toward Yao Bingyun. "What is your Dao?" Yao Bingyun did not dodge. She did not even glance at the 5 dragons rushing toward her. Her face was pale, yet her expression was resolute, unyielding, unwavering. Her Dao heart stood firm, unshaken, even in the face of death. In this moment of crisis, she abandoned everything else and initiated a domain battle with Wang Lin. But Wang Lin had already anticipated this. Even before she opened her eyes, he had foreseen her reaction. Because in some ways, he and Yao Bingyun were the same kind of person. Even at death's door, they would fight with everything they had. Even if doomed to perish, they would drag their enemy into the cycle of reincarnation with them. The instant Yao Bingyun spoke, confusion filled her eyes. An illusion appeared before her. It was the figure of a young girl, no more than 14 or 15. Her hair was tied into a simple bun, her expression frail and helpless. She opened her mouth trying to speak, but no sound came. She was mute. As the girl appeared, a sorrowful Dao domain spread outward, enveloping Wang Lin in a tide of quiet despair. But at that exact moment, Wang Lin's heavenly chop reached the tentacles. He had controlled its power with exquisite precision. It was not enough to damage the tentacles, only enough to provoke them. The instant the strike landed, the tentacles contracted violently. Yao Bingyun's face turned even paler. She coughed up a mouthful of blood as cracking sounds echoed from within her body. It was as if her bones could no longer withstand the pressure. Then, the tentacles began to writhe wildly. The heavenly chop had driven them into a frenzy. Yao Bingyun's eyes dimmed. With her body severed from her origin energy, she was no different from a mortal. As the tentacles whipped her about, a bitter smile surfaced on her lips. Despair filled her gaze. The physical pain could not shake her Dao heart. But what came next did. The tentacles began to devour her, not only her vitality, not only her origin energy, but even her Dao. The illusory girl before her blurred, then vanished completely. "Younger sister," Yao Bingyun whispered softly, her gaze lingering on the fading image. Then she closed her eyes. Her life and her Dao were being consumed at an alarming rate. From the very beginning, Wang Lin had calculated everything. If she never awoke, it would change nothing. And even if she did, entangled by the tentacles as she was, she posed no threat. What he relied upon was speed and initiative. Though her domain dissipated almost instantly, that lingering sorrow remained. Wang Lin was startled, but his eyes lit up. Without hesitation, he pointed at her. The ice surrounding Yao Bingyun shattered completely with a series of sharp explosions, revealing her body. Wang Lin did not pause. His hands formed seals at blinding speed, one after another, pressing them into her body and origin soul. Restriction after restriction descended upon her like a storm. At the same time, his left hand pointed toward the sky. The Karma Whip appeared. It shot into her body, binding her origin soul firmly in place. Still unsatisfied, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding. The soul flag unfurled, wrapping tightly around Yao Bingyun, sealing her further. Yet even this was not enough. Wang Lin opened his mouth and spat out the celestial sealing stamp. The moment it appeared, his hand formed another seal. Seal. Hundreds of thousands of golden runes erupted into existence. They flowed like a vast golden river, surging onto Yao Bingyun's body, sealing her completely. Each rune, a seal. Layer upon layer, they locked her existence down to the very core. Only then did Wang Lin finally relax. He retreated to the furnace. With a hand seal, he pointed at Yao Bingyun and spoke softly. Change position. The furnace trembled. A force capable of tearing apart the heavens surged through the Moongazer Serpent's body. Within that force, Yao Bingyun vanished without a trace. When she reappeared, Wang Lin reached out, grabbed her, and stored her inside his bag of holding like a precious treasure. This is not the place to refine a celestial guard. His eyes gleamed faintly. He stepped back onto the furnace. With a thought, it began to drift forward. The white mist surrounding the furnace formed a subtle barrier, isolating it from the surroundings. The tentacles nearby ignored it completely. This was the very method greed had once relied upon to evade the smaller Moongazer serpents and their grasp. Though he had ultimately failed against the main body, still, it proved one thing. The furnace's mist possessed a stealth-like effect within the serpent. Wang Lin remained extremely cautious. His gaze swept across the surroundings. One by one, the figures bound by the tentacles entered his sight. The deeper he traveled, the denser the tentacles became. The twisted expressions on the faces of both cultivators and mortals, frozen in agony before death, caused Wang Lin to fall into silent contemplation. As he advanced, he found no trace of ancient god aura among them. He did not rush. He continued forward steadily. The tentacles grew thicker, more numerous, until they sealed off the path entirely. Yet by utilizing the furnace's power, Wang Lin was able to teleport through them, bypassing the obstruction. Time passed, unknown, unmeasured. Gradually, the figures bound by the tentacles began to change. They were no longer completely lifeless. Some still retained a faint trace of vitality, but it was fragile, like a candle flickering in the wind, ready to be extinguished at any moment. Wang Lin's expression shifted slightly. He continued onward. More and more individuals with lingering vitality appeared, and as he pressed deeper, that vitality grew stronger. Wang Lin suddenly stopped, his gaze fixed on the endless tunnel ahead. It seems the Moongazer Serpent absorbs vitality from the outside inward. The deeper I go, the more life remains in those trapped here. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Perhaps I may even find someone still conscious. Without hesitation, he accelerated. The number of living figures increased. Yet Wang Lin did not pause. He continued deeper, until suddenly, a call. It echoed from within his very soul. His mind trembled violently. Come, come. The voice stirred a storm within him, far more intense than when he first saw the furnace. It carried a force that pierced through everything, his body, his origin soul, and resonated directly within his soul itself. And it was not limited to this body alone. Even his original body, hidden within the Alliance star system, felt it. Inside a distant cultivation planet, his original body's eyes snapped open. They shone like blazing suns. Wang Lin inhaled sharply. His eyes gleamed. Come, come. The call persisted. It made both his body and his origin soul tremble. It carried an irresistible pull, one that urged him forward. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin closed his eyes. Then, in the next instant, he opened them again. They were filled with unwavering resolve. Without hesitation, he charged toward the source of the call. Meanwhile, Months after the Moongazer Serpent had once more transformed into a planet and fallen into slumber, everything had returned to silence. The universe seemed still, unmoving, until, on this day, a streak of light tore through the void. It carried a terrifying aura. A middle-aged man emerged. It was the black-robed cultivator who had once battled the Moongazer Serpent. This time, he had come in his true body. Behind him loomed the illusory form of a 1,000-foot black eagle. Its eyes crackled with lightning, cold and merciless. The moment he appeared, thunder rumbled across the void. Master Flamespark arrived. With a single step, almost simultaneously, a crimson light flashed. A massive octagonal formation spanning 100,000 feet materialized in space. Its pressure was overwhelming, so immense it could be felt from unimaginable distances. As the formation glowed, an aura capable of shaking the heavens spread outward. Then, from within the formation, 4 figures stepped forth. All 4 of them were clad in red and all were boys. Their faces were expressionless, devoid of even the faintest trace of emotion, like lifeless puppets carved from flesh. The moment they appeared, they moved without hesitation, splitting into 4 directions to surround the planet formed by the Moongazer Serpent. Each boy sat down in the lotus position. From above their heads a blood core slowly rose. The 4 blood cores hovered in the void, then instantly connected, forming a crimson circuit that sealed in the Moongazer Serpent from all sides. The red-robed old man stepped out from the massive formation. Though his face remained calm, his eyes were icy and a dense, killing intent radiated from his body, directed entirely at the Moongazer Serpent. Master Flamespark's eyes brightened as he observed the 4 boys. A smile appeared on his lips. "Fellow cultivator Xiang, you've actually brought out the Xiang family's 4 god-sealing sons. With them here, our chances have increased significantly." His gaze shifted. Did fellow cultivator Gongsun invite any others? The black-robed man Gongsun replied calmly, "The Shengong family ancestor and Zhan family's Li Yunzi." The red-robed old man Xiang stepped beside Master Flamespark and smiled faintly. "I didn't invite many. Only Blood God and 5-color Taoist. They should be arriving shortly." At the mention of Blood God, a faint snort echoed within Master Flamespark's heart. "I only invited 1 person," he said calmly. "As for who, you will see soon enough." As his words fell, a streak of silver light tore through the distant void. Standing upon it was a middle-aged man whose appearance bore a striking resemblance to Shengong Hu. In an instant he arrived before them. "Shengong." He clasped his hands briefly, then fell silent. His gaze fixed upon the Moongazer Serpent, unreadable as ripples of silver light arched and flowed around him, forming a dazzling aura. Soon after, a deep rumble echoed across the stars. From the distance, a massive ship approached. Upon it, countless young women clad in vibrant flowing dresses danced gracefully, their movements ethereal and mesmerizing. A burst of laughter rang out. A white-haired old man, clad in a 5-colored robe, leapt down from the ship, landing beside the others. "My apologies for the delay, fellow cultivators," he said with a smile. "On the way here, I came across several excellent cultivation furnaces, and could not resist." His complexion was ruddy, his skin smooth as a child's, yet the moment he arrived, a strange, almost feminine aura spread through the surroundings. The Xiang family elder laughed. "For something to catch the eye of 5-color Taoist, those furnaces must be extraordinary indeed." 5-color Taoist smiled faintly. "If Brother Xiang is interested, I'll send you one after we capture this beast." His gaze swept across the gathering. Within he was secretly shaken. Every person present was a renowned old monster. Their gathering here meant only one thing. This beast would not escape. The Shengong ancestor remained silent, his gaze never leaving the Moongazer Serpent. The black-robed Gongsun was even more taciturn. As for Master Flamespark, his expression remained calm. 5-color Taoist, despite his strength, did not warrant his attention. At that moment, another figure appeared from the distance. He wore white robes and appeared youthful, yet an ancient aura lingered around him, creating a strange and contradictory presence. He walked forward step by step, no magical treasure beneath his feet, calm, unhurried. When he arrived, he merely glanced at the others and clasped his hands. He said nothing. Li Yunzi, Master Flamespark's eyes narrowed. The white-robed man gave a faint nod and stood silently. Not a single word left his lips. Rumor has it, Master Flamespark said lightly that Li Yunzi of the Zhan family has a dreadful temper. Once in a fit of rage, he annihilated 13 cultivation families. That is how he became known. His gaze shifted toward the distance. A vast expanse of crimson light surged forward. The scent of blood flooded the void. Within moments, that blood-red radiance condensed into a single figure just 100 feet away. An old man, red brows, a robe the color of fresh blood. His expression was dark and somber. After appearing, he did not look at anyone else. His gaze locked onto the Moongazer Serpent, his eyes gleaming with an inscrutable light. Blood God. The moment he appeared, every old monster present narrowed their eyes. Even Li Yunzi and the Shengong ancestor were no exception. Blood God slowly withdrew his gaze. His eyes swept across the gathered figures, then settled on Master Flamespark. "You took my grandson's origin soul," he said calmly. "When the passage to the Alliance star system opens, we will fight." A cold glint flashed in Master Flamespark's eyes. He smiled. "I would be honored." At that very moment, thunder roared across the northern domain. Messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple emerged in great numbers, forming a vast encirclement 50,000 kilometers around the Moongazer Serpent. Each messenger formed hand seals linking together through a secret technique. Soon, endless thunder gathered between them, forming a massive blockade that sealed the heavens. 5,000 kilometers beyond them, another line formed. Cultivators clad in black and red robes stood in formation, creating a second layer of containment. Nothing would escape. None of this reached Wang Lin. Within the serpent's body, the call from his soul grew clearer, stronger. It made his very blood boil. Standing atop the massive furnace, Wang Lin shot forward at incredible speed, racing toward the end of the narrow passage. The voice within him grew louder, echoing through his entire being. "Come, come, faster, faster." 5 minutes later, the call thundered within him like a storm. And then, he saw it. What lay ahead caused his entire body to tremble. His pupils shrank violently. Before him, more than 100 tentacles wrapped tightly around. A child. The child's body was enormous, dozens of feet tall. His eyes were closed. His form curled inward. From him radiated an overwhelming vitality, one that the Moongazer Serpent was greedily absorbing. On his forehead, 8 illusory stars flickered. None were solid. They rotated slowly, emanating a mysterious power. That too was being devoured. Wang Lin gasped. His mind shook as it never had before. An ancient godchild. Memories from ancient God 2C surged forth. There were only 2 explanations. For illusory stars, the first, the child's father was an 8-star ancient god who had left his power within the child. The second was far more terrifying. This child was not a child at all, but an adult 8-star ancient god who had suffered catastrophic injury or undergone an unimaginable transformation, causing his power to regress, returning him to infancy. If it's the second, Wang Lin's expression darkened. Then where did his power go? His gaze swept the surroundings. Then, fixed upon the hundreds of tentacles, a shocking thought emerged. Could it be that the Moongazer Serpent's transformation is because of this? It captured the ancient god and devoured his power. Wang Lin slowly stepped back. Yet within him, a powerful sorrow surged. It came from his connection to his original body. It spread rapidly, enveloping him entirely. "My clansman," a voice echoed within his soul. It was spoken in the language of ancient gods. Ancient, heavy, carrying an aura so overwhelming that it could age a mortal to death in an instant. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He stared at the child bound within the tentacles. My time is short. There is the aura of my clan within you, but it is weak. Bring a true clansman to receive my final inheritance. Wang Lin's body trembled. His voice was hoarse. Are you truly a child, or an ancient god who has regressed? I am. Before the answer could be completed, the tentacles surrounding the ancient god suddenly went berserk. They tightened, swelled, bulged grotesquely. They began absorbing, frenzied, desperate. This did not only affect the ancient god. All around, those with weakened bodies exploded instantly. Their vitality was devoured in a single moment. Total annihilation. Wang Lin's expression darkened. Without hesitation, he retreated into the furnace, forming hand seals. White mist immediately enveloped him. The entire passage descended into madness. It was as if the Moongazer Serpent had gone insane. It began devouring everything at once. All the vitality it had accumulated over countless years, consumed in a frenzy. Bodies burst apart, mummified corpses crumbled, their final traces of life swallowed. At the same time, the entire space shook violently, as if something unimaginable was unfolding outside. Then, furious roars echoed throughout the serpent. All the smaller Moongazer serpents surged into motion, their expressions feral, their roars deafening. There were too many of them, an endless swarm. Under the lead of 8 massive Moongazer serpents, they mobilized. Outside, an unprecedented battle was erupting, a battle the likes of which had rarely been seen. Across the star systems, 7 figures, each standing at the very pinnacle of the all-heaven star system, had joined forces to wage war against the Moongazer Serpent. The colossal creature stirred. Its massive body slowly unfurled from its coiled slumber, rising like an ancient terror awakening from eternity. A ferocious roar tore from its maw as its form shifted and its towering tentacles lashed through the void, stirring the stars themselves. For the first time, a trace of vigilance appeared in its eyes. Though its senses differed from those of humans, it could still perceive danger. And now, it felt it. It had been a very long time since such a sensation had touched it. From the depths of its ancient memory, something stirred. A distant past so distant it was nearly forgotten. Long ago, as it drifted aimlessly through the void, a vague, unfathomable voice had once warned it. Do not enter that region. That voice carried a force so overwhelming it had instilled fear deep within its being. Though the memory had faded, blurred by the passage of endless years, that fear remained. It had been engraved into its very existence. And now, that same unease resurfaced. Though far weaker than before, it was enough to make it cautious. Its countless tentacles swayed as the Moongazer Serpent released another roar. This roar was different. It was not mere fury. It was power unleashed. It was as if the world itself were being torn apart, more violent than thunder, more destructive than the collapse of heaven itself. Never before had it used such a sound. When facing lesser cultivators, it had no need. It simply slaughtered them. But now, faced with true danger, it revealed its full strength. Within that roar, fragments of a strange human-like language emerged, ancient, incomprehensible, forming a spell that caused the surrounding space to collapse and ripple outward endlessly. Above it, the red-robed elder raised his hand and merged with the octagonal formation. The formation hovered overhead, unleashing torrents of flaming thunder that rained down upon the serpent. At the same time, crimson lightning from the 4 boys coiled tightly around the Moongazer Serpent, restraining its movements. The black-robed, middle-aged man transformed into a 1,000-foot giant eagle. His immense wings blotted out the stars as he circled the serpent, tearing at it with razor-sharp talons. Even a cultivation planet would crumble beneath the force of his strikes. His power was among the very peak of the all-heaven star system. The ancestor of the Shengong family stepped forward. With a single stride, he closed the distance. As he spread his arms, Thunder surged wildly through his body, erupting outward in the form of countless thunder dragons. Though not born of an ancient thunder dragon, they carried the might of thunder spirits themselves. No fewer than 10,000 thunder dragons roared into existence. They surged forward in a raging tide, converging upon the Moongazer Serpent in a devastating assault. Meanwhile, Li Yunzi of the Zhan family moved like a phantom, a white spectre flickering through space, too fast to follow. In his hand gleamed a silver sword. In an instant it would pierce the serpent's body, then erupt with blinding brilliance, extending endlessly until it pierced through the creature entirely. This was the technique that had shaken the entire All-Heaven star system, the heart movement celestial spell. Where his will reached, nothing could resist. The five-colored Taoist dissolved into 5 streams of light, merging into a swirling vortex that expanded to fill the heavens. Within it, the shadows of 99 maidens appeared. Each sat in meditation, solemn and still. From them surged an overwhelmingly feminine aura, condensing violently into a grotesque, malevolent spirit that charged toward the Moongazer Serpent. Blood God remained expressionless. His body exploded into a vast mist of blood, filling the void with the heavy scent of slaughter. The blood mist wrapped around the serpent, seeping through its tentacles, invading its body, unleashing chaos from within. Deep inside, thunderous rumblings echoed. Master Flamespark formed a seal. Before him, countless fragments appeared, each a remnant of the celestial realm itself. Under his control, they began to rotate, forming a celestial storm that raged across the stars. For this operation, nearly the entire northern domain had been evacuated by the Thunder Celestial Temple. All for this moment, to capture the Moongazer Serpent. The serpent's roar grew more violent. Pain. It felt pain. From within, from without, an agony so intense it drove it to the brink of madness. It had been so long since it had suffered such torment. Aside from that distant voice in its memory, nothing had ever caused it such pain. With a furious roar, it opened its massive maw and released its offspring. 8 colossal Moongazer serpents, each 100,000 feet long, surged forth. Behind them, countless more. 10,000 feet, 1,000 feet, an endless tide. As they emerged, a strange ancient language echoed from their mouths. Not just the main serpent, but every single one. The voice of the ancient god reverberated across the void. Then, light appeared. Before each serpent, a radiant point formed, growing brighter, denser, until the stars themselves were filled with them. Ancient god fingers, countless, endless, a terrifying display of power. With the Moongazer Serpent at the center, the ancient god fingers swept across the battlefield. Even the 6-peak cultivators changed expression. Yet the serpent's fury did not end there. Its massive body convulsed violently, contracting as if to reclaim every ounce of vitality within it. Popping sounds echoed through space as countless tentacles snapped from their roots. They tore free, twisting, writhing, then transformed. Each one became a 100,000-foot Moongazer Serpent. The battlefield descended into chaos. Even Master Flamespark's pupils shrank in shock. What kind of moon beast is this? He muttered. The ancient texts never recorded such a power. Far away, near Wang Lin, all mortals and cultivators collapsed instantly, their vitality drained completely. The devouring had begun. The more than 100 tentacles around the ancient godchild began to absorb. No, devour. Bulges swelled along each tentacle as they consumed the ancient god's power with terrifying speed. At the same time, countless hairs sprouted from them, piercing into the ancient god's body, feeding relentlessly. Wang Lin's eyes turned cold. This ancient god-child is the source of its life. His hand formed a seal. He was about to act, when that ancient voice echoed once more within his origin soul. Weaker, fading, on the verge of extinction. Do not attack. I have already become one with the Moongazer Serpent. If you strike, it will immediately turn upon you. My clansmen, leave quickly. Bring one who can inherit my legacy. I do not have much time." The voice grew fainter, nearly vanishing as the devouring continued. "You cannot leave with your current strength. I will help you." The ancient godchild opened his eyes. At that moment, one of the 8 illusory stars within him collapsed. An ancient god star, shattered. The force unleashed was unimaginable. It surged past Wang Lin, rushing toward the vortex at the end of the narrow passage, like a storm of annihilation. At the vortex, red light flared. Blood God's figure condensed. He had just arrived, and the force struck. Even he groaned. His body collapsed instantly. A demonic force erupted, forming a shadow that shielded him, but even it trembled violently before shattering. Both he and the shadow were hurled backward, expelled from the vortex. When his body reformed, Blood God was pale, deathly pale. He coughed violently, blood spilling from his lips as he staggered backward, his origin soul gravely wounded. Had it not been for the demon bound to his soul, he would have died. His eyes were filled with shock, fear, disbelief. Ancient God. Behind him, the demonic shadow reappeared, its expression identical, filled with the same terror. Blood God did not hesitate. His body exploded into a vast mist of blood, merging with the demonic shadow behind him as he fled using blood escape. Outside, the tentacles that once covered the Moongazer Serpent detached all at once, transforming into countless smaller Moongazer Serpents. The sight caused the surrounding old monsters to gasp in shock. Master Flamespark's eyes blazed. Without the slightest delay, his hands formed seals. Instantly, countless fragments surged forth, surrounding the battlefield. At the same time, he let out a thunderous roar, and waves of mysterious power rippled outward. Each fragment pulsed with immense energy. They encircled the Moongazer Serpents and began to rotate at high speed, forming a massive vortex. The red-robed old man flicked his sleeves. The enormous octagonal formation collapsed, splitting into countless smaller formations that trapped each Moongazer Serpent individually. Rising into the air, he formed another seal and divided his divine sense, sending it into every single formation. The 4 boys moved in unison, tightly encircling the main body of the Moongazer Serpent. Above them, the red core pulsed relentlessly, sealing off its path. Li Yunzi's eyes flashed sharply. Gripping his silver sword, he pierced through the blockade and rushed toward the swarm of smaller Moongazer Serpents. His speed was so terrifying that his strikes often landed before the flashes of silver light even appeared. Yet none of his attacks could shake the ancient god finger conjured by the enraged Moongazer Serpent. From all directions, countless ancient god fingers condensed and shot outward. Boom, boom, boom. Thunderous explosions echoed endlessly. The ancient god finger formed by the main body slammed into the blockade created by the 4 boys. One boy's face turned instantly pale. He coughed up a mouthful of blood as cracks spread across the red core above his head. A crimson mist seeped out rapidly. At the same time, another boy on the opposite side also turned pale, his body trembling weakly. A red glow flickered above him before bursting out and merging into the core overhead. The moment the red light left his body, he collapsed. The red-robed old man's countless formations shattered under the force of the ancient god finger. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Master Flamespark's eyes turned bloodshot. With a furious roar, he formed another seal. The fragments of the celestial realm expanded violently, as if the thunder celestial realm itself had descended upon this place. At a glance, it seemed as though the Moongazer Serpents had been engulfed by the celestial realm. Thunder linked the fragments together, forming chains of lightning that sealed the Moongazer Serpent within. Then, the fragments began to contract. At that moment, the entire northern domain trembled as though space itself was on the verge of collapse. Fellow cultivators, help me seal this beast. Master Flamespark's voice roared like thunder. His arm extended outward, veins bulging across his face as he poured out his full strength. A faint trace of returning to the origin emerged from his body. Though it was only a trace, It caused the Moongazer Serpent to panic. From the depths of its ancient memory, it recalled a terrifying voice, one that had once warned it. That voice had carried the same aura, only far stronger. The memory resurfaced like a nightmare. When it had first sensed that aura, it felt as though it had been dragged back into the body of an ancient god, back to a time when it existed without consciousness, without will. Fierce roars erupted from its body. Its massive form writhed violently as a strange guttural sound emerged from its maw. Then, all the ancient god fingers from the smaller serpents converged. They fused together. The ancient god finger before the main body was no longer illusory. It became real. Its surface was rough, covered in cracks that resembled ancient runes. A corporeal ancient god finger descended. With a thunderous roar, it pressed downward. The three boys standing before it were utterly powerless. Their bodies exploded instantly. The red cores above them shattered, erupting into a dense crimson mist. The blockade collapsed. A vast swarm of Moongazer serpents surged outward. The Shengong family ancestor stepped forward, his entire body crackling with thunder. Countless thunder dragons roared into existence, intercepting the advancing serpents. The entire northern domain seemed to shake. Space itself began to collapse under the overwhelming pressure. Even the blockade formed by the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple, 50,000 kilometers away, was affected. A gap appeared, only to be hastily sealed by lightning. At the same time, the ghost formed by five-colored Taoist surged forward, launching its attack upon the Moongazer Serpent. Close behind, the black-robed middle-aged man advanced. His body transformed into a massive eagle. Opening its beak, it released a bell. The bell was illusory, yet it enveloped the eagle completely. As the eagle charged forward, the bell rang. Its sound carried immense power. With each echo, the already collapsing space intensified, pressing inward toward the Moongazer Serpent. Yet, all of these attacks crumbled before the nearly corporeal ancient god finger. The first to clash with it was Li Yunzi of the Zhan family. The moment his silver sword met the finger, his body erupted with popping sounds. Blood sprayed from his mouth as he was thrown backward. Yet after being blasted back 100 feet, his eyes burned with fury. He did not retreat. He charged again. His cultivation was formidable. Though he survived the impact, his origin soul had suffered severe damage. The ancient god finger did not slow. It continued its descent. The red-robed old man roared, transforming into a cloud of blood that fused with his formations. The crimson octagonal formation surged forward and collided with the finger. At that exact moment, the ghost of five-colored Taoist arrived. As it neared the finger, it collapsed into dense black mist, spreading across it in an attempt to devour it. The Shengong family ancestor did not pause. He formed a seal and pointed to his forehead. The countless thunder dragons condensed into a single bolt of lightning 100 feet thick. It moved faster than the eye could follow and struck the ancient god finger. The black eagle did not stop. Amid the storm of attacks, it charged forward. As it collided with the finger, the bell rang once more. The combined power of 5 peak experts of the All-Heaven star system was enough to shatter planets. Destroying the northern domain itself would not have been difficult. Their spells merged into a devastating storm, a storm capable of tearing apart the void. Even the messengers 50,000 kilometers away turned pale. Those at the illusory yin stage coughed up blood, unable to withstand the pressure. Then, the storm collided with the ancient god finger. Boom! A thunderous explosion echoed across the entire northern domain. Li Yunzi's body was drenched in blood as he was hurled away violently. The black eagle collapsed, its form shattered as the black-robed man was blasted backward. Cracks spread across the Shengong family ancestor's body. His face turned pale as he coughed up blood, retreating rapidly. The red-robed old man's formation shattered completely. His body trembled as he staggered backward, his face drained of all color. The most severely injured was five-colored Taoist. His spell collapsed, his body cracking with explosive sounds as blood poured from his mouth, while he retreated in panic. All 5, gravely wounded. The ancient god finger finally shattered. The collision unleashed a catastrophic shockwave that spread outward in all directions. The rumbling continued as space itself fractured. Within a radius of 50,000 kilometers, everything was affected. Abandoned planets shattered instantly. The messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple were thrown back coughing blood, unable to maintain their blockade. Even farther away, the formations created by the black and red-robed cultivators were shaken. Their faces turned pale as they retreated in haste. At that same moment, inside the Moongazer Serpent, the ancient god before Wang Lin trembled violently as the tentacles devoured him frantically. Another star on his forehead collapsed. As the star shattered, a vast amount of power was absorbed by the tentacles, but a portion of it was seized. A strange light flickered in the ancient god's eyes as he began to chant an incomprehensible incantation. That stolen power condensed, forming a simple transfer array. "My clansmen, quickly, go! Bring my true clansmen here." Wang Lin fell into silent thought, gazing deeply at the weakened ancient god. Then, without hesitation, he stepped into the transfer array and vanished.